Brian. All right, we'll start the meeting. We'll open with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody. Public hearing scheduled for this evening, first of which is for our MS4 stormwater reporting plan. We do have a copy of the printed notification in the paper of the public hearing notice for both respective public hearings as they come through the evening. So I'd like to open the floor for public comment on the MS4 stormwater reporting plan. John, could you just give us a little kind of overview as to why we do this every year for the DEC?
Yeah. Hey, John, how are you, buddy?
Well, he knows. No. Good evening to the public and to the board. My name is John Fuller. I'm one of the town engineers for Milford. I am from Milford, but for Mount Hope, I apologize. So every year, the town is what we call an MS4, which is basically we're registered to have a municipal stormwater system with the state of New York through the DEC. It's part of the Federal Clean Waters Act, and so the idea is that the town has adopted measures in order to control stormwater runoff as it leaves various private and municipal properties and enters the clean water channels of streams and rivers that ultimately meander through the town as well as other adjoining municipalities. Because Mount Hope is a MS4, we've registered with the state to be a municipal stormwater system. We're required under the regulation to do an annual report every year, identifying the measures that are being taken in order to make sure that the goals of the program are being met. And so there's a compliance certification which is executed every year by the town supervisor and sent to the state with an annual report just summarizing all the measures that have been put in place as well as things that are continued to do on an ongoing basis. We also have an opportunity to identify any activities that were in violation over the course of the past year. Fortunately, there have been none of any significance within the past year as it relates to stormwater runoffs. And so it's just an ongoing thing that we do. It's basically an annual registration that we have to make with the state, and we're required by law to do so. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about it, I can answer. So, any questions from the board or?
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, John.
So my recommendation is that if you could execute the document, we'll go ahead and send it to the state, and we'll be good for another year. So.
Last call, any comments from the public on the MS4 stormwater plan? No. Motion to close the public hearing for the MS4 stormwater reporting plan.
I'll make that.
Motion.
And a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
At this time, I'd like to open a second public hearing in the evening for proposed local law number 1 of 2023 regarding the tax exemption for qualified volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers. Again, the public hearing notice that was published is available up front if anyone would like to see that. And at this time, we will open the floor to any public comment.
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor, members of the town board, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lou Ingrassia Jr. For those who don't know me, been a volunteer firefighter for the Hollis Fire District, Hollis Fire Company for the past 40 years. Over that span, I've served 2 terms as chief, totaling 5 years, and I've also been elected fire commissioner of the fire district for the past 20 years. Also served as president of the Orange County Fire Chiefs Association and the Orange County Fire Districts Association. I am a resident of the town of Wallkill. However, I'm here tonight as a representative of both the Hollis Fire Company and the Hollis Fire District to encourage the board to vote favorably on the new statewide exemption for volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers. We've been working diligently on this legislation for the past several months since it was signed into law by the governor's office in December 2022. Over this time, speaking specifically with the Howells Fire District, we cover portions of three towns, portions of 3 towns, 2 counties, and 3 different school districts. We've had success with the town of Walkville, the town of Mamakating, the Minnesink School District, the Middletown School District. The Howells Fire District has passed this, and also the Pine Bush School Board will be acting hopefully on this soon. They did have a public hearing scheduled for the last day of February, but they got snowed out, so they're going to push to get it also. This legislation, as you're well aware, will provide a positive benefit for our volunteer firefighters, and hopefully will encourage more residents of our community to volunteer. I have taken the liberty, and I'd like to leave these with you when I'm done. I have taken the liberty of making some copies of the actual exemption, the new parts of the law. There is a current exemption in place that's been in place since 2006. The updated exemption allows for your board to enact the legislation as we certify to you, the firefighters that are eligible. You have the option of setting your law up to between 2 and 5 years. We would recommend, and hopefully you would approve, to go with a 2-year exemption. Also, the new law allows for a lifetime exemption for anyone over 20 years. And we would hope that you would enact that as well. The other thing that the new law allows for is for survivor benefits for the spouse of a firefighter. They would continue to receive that benefit as long as they utilized the home as their primary residence. So we would also like you to, to take all of that into consideration. Tonight, my fellow firefighters from Howells, these ladies and gentlemen felt that it was important to come out to let you know, how strongly we support this. We feel it's an extreme benefit to our firefighters and to our future firefighters. We do know that any savings that is enacted through this will be, basically recouped from the rest of the taxpayers, similar to any other exemption that's out there, whether it's a senior exemption, veterans exemption, or anything like that. We did already certify to your assessor, Mr. Ketchum, the names of 15 individuals that will benefit from this once it does go into action. We know there was a sunset on the, or a deadline on it of March 1st from the governor's office. We're hoping possibly that may be extended. So if you do move forward and enact this legislation and file it with the state kind of as soon as possible, we may be able to benefit for the upcoming tax year. If not, of course, you could certainly pass it, and then we'll benefit for the tax years, to come. So, like I said, all that being said, we're here in strong support of this, and we would hope that the board would, consider it and vote affirmative on it. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. I'd like to leave these copies with you if I could.
Not a problem.
Well, yeah, you just pass out. There's plenty. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What's up, bud?
Any other public comments regarding the firefighter and ambulance worker tax exemption? Diane?
I just have one question, because I was just speaking to Dennis, based on the villages. Does the town currently have, since 2006, an exemption for firefighters on the books?
Yes,
So that will remain in effect until the new one is enacted?
correct.
Okay, that's all I want to know.
Is 2006 the date that was originated, Dennis, do you know that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Matt.
The date of which the current exemption was 2006?
Yeah, about then. Different counties and municipalities opted into it at different times. It was an opt-in exemption, similar to this one, so different various. The village and the town, I don't think, are even the same when they went in, but it was about that time.
And the main difference between what's proposed currently and what is in existence currently is a greater threshold of savings for the individual as well as the lifetime and surviving spouse exemption, is that correct?
The main difference, the surviving spouse and the lifetime are similar, so that's not a big difference, but the main difference is that the new exemption removes a cap that exists on the other one and provides what we've affectionately always referred to as a Happy Meal exemption, because the firemen could actually go buy a Happy Meal with what they saved with the old exemption. The only one difference, however, I'll just mention this because of something that I heard Lou say, is the current draft of your local law, which I did have the opportunity to finally get this morning and read it. You do have the minimum threshold of service currently set at 5 years, not 2. You can choose any amount of time between 2 and 5. The current draft has it at 5.
And regarding the effective date Lou had mentioned, if, I guess probably more a question for you, David, the town can make it effective today if we so choose, pending
Correct.
then it would have to be filed with the Department of State, correct?
That's correct.
All right.
It would follow the same local law filing procedure as any other local law with the state.
And also with the possibility of the extension of allowing for current applicants to take the exemption of the current, or not the following taxable year. If that's a decision made by Albany, then we would be notified of that, and anybody applicable if our local legislation fell within that date range of the extension, is that correct?
That, I think, is more for Mr. Ketchum, but most likely.
Yeah, most likely. I'm unaware of that's occurring, so I'll have to defer to what I heard Lou say. But yeah, New York State taxable status date is March 1st, so any exemptions would have had to have been received and filed, and the local law enacted by that date.
I will say that since particularly the STAR application process went online, the state has been picking up exemptions throughout the year beyond that March 1st and often applying it. So it certainly is within the realm of possibilities that even it being enacted after March 1st, it could still get picked up for this year.
Yeah, but that's all up to Albany.
That's all going
That's
to
out
be
of our
ultimately
hands.
up to Albany,
Okay.
yes.
I do have one other question, which probably is for Dennis. If firefighter is currently receiving exemption under the old law, and the new law, then the old one is gone, the new law is there, do they have to reapply for the exemption?
Yes.
Or would, yeah, okay,
Yes, it's a new type of application.
okay. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments at this time?
Jim Finn from the Hallis Fire District. On the 2-year, 5-year credit, the 2 year is really important for a recruitment tool, where some of the other part of the law is really good for a retention. So I would really encourage the board to look at the 2 year, I think as Lou said, because I'm part of the recruitment committee as well, and that's something you could say to somebody that's new that, you put 2 years in, and you could start getting this benefit.
Thank you. Is there any comments from the board?
I have a comment. Thank you for showing up in a large group and telling us how important this is. Because 1 or 2 of you probably wouldn't have done this, but, well, I'm not saying that you wouldn't have done it, but thanks for showing up and thanks for what you did.
Amanda, any comments? Any comments further from the public at this time? Okay. Like a motion to close the public hearing for local law number 1, 2023.
I'll make the motion.
And a second? A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Just kind of jumping out of order here, but based on the public participation, the comments we received regarding our draft of the local law, it sounds that 2 years of service would be a better fit for the people of the township and the community that would, this would be applicable to. So that would be my only comment. Ask the board to amend the draft local law from 5 years of service to the 2 years of service in order to receive the exemption under the law. So it's, a motion and a second to adopt the change to the draft as stated.
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we'll move on to first item of our agenda, the accepting of our prior meeting minutes from the date of February 21st, 2023. And a motion and a second, please.
Make the motion.
And a second? All in favor?
Aye.
And correspondence from Kathleen, please.
I have a copy of a letter from Little League inviting the town board members and the supervisor to their opening day ceremony on Saturday, April 22nd at 11 a.m. Correspondence from Orange County DPW with regard to Orange County Transfer Station tipping fees. Copy of the Stop DWI contract for the police department to sign and, I don't know, what's normally- Yeah, to be certified, yeah.
Board resolution.
Okay. Mortgage tax receipts from the county for February, the highway spring and fall trash bids, the bid results from today's bid opening, the collection summary for, from the tax collector's office. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Kathleen. Move on to our committee reports from our board members. I'll start with Jim.
Couple of things I have. The village meeting, the village will be holding a public hearing on fiscal year 2024 annual budget at 6:30 p.m. on April 6th. Their next meeting is April 6th, that's following the public hearing. I wish Mayor Warner best of luck. His last meeting was this past week, so I wish him the best. And Councilman Carey also read a letter from the supervisor saying thank you. And our annual Easter egg we're going to have is April 8th at 2 p.m. at the Town Park, rain or shine. That's all I have, I think. Oh, and one more thing. I reached out to Howard, Hopefully he'll stop by tomorrow or Wednesday to look at the youth center issue with the access cards. Hopefully, that's it.
All right, thank you, Jim. And Chris?
I have a few things. The Youth and Senior Center, with Dean's help and Amanda's help, Brian too actually, we've been able to streamline for the supplies, so much easier to take care of. We also got some supplies for renters to use to clean the tables, which will actually clean the tables. So, I just wanted everybody to be aware about that. Hidden Valley Sewer, we're halfway through the project. They're coming back to finish installing the screens, I believe either tomorrow or Wednesday. So that's moving along well. There is no ZBA meeting as of right now. I want to talk a little bit about Menacing Valley. Due to some of the laws that changed in New York State, we now have to remove the Indian. I'm a guy that graduated from Menacing myself. I know several people in here have too. And so I just want everybody aware about that. Interesting. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was today I had gone to Albany. And the reason I went to Albany is because there was several assemblymen and legislators, there was town supervisors, there was councilmen, councilwomen that were there to rally against the governor, because the governor is trying to push down that they are going to take any town with a train station, and within a half-mile radius of that train station, they are going to build condo units. So there's no thought in the process. There's no infrastructure here for that. They're gonna totally do away with SECRA, which is the environmental studies. They're gonna take that out of our control, of our hands. The minute the government oversteps the constitution of the state, there's a problem. So I want people to know that the good thing is, we're not the only town. I was there with the town supervisor from Hamptonburg. Brian Marr, state assemblyman, was there. Brian Miller, another state assemblyman. A lot of people from Long Island. So it's not just Mount Hope that we have to fight, but there is a lot of us fighting. I know Steve Newhouse has put out about it, and I know he's gonna help us fight too. And I just want you to know that I went and took the day off because I think it's very important for our community to be very aware of what's going on. And she's gonna try to push this in the next 2 weeks, from what I understand. So, I know I have the support of the board here on this, but it could be a very dangerous situation. They're gonna try to take away zoning and planning away from our town to push an agenda. So, that's all I have to speak on that. The last thing I wanna talk about is Hell's Fire Company. I'm glad you're here because you're my fire company. So, I love you guys, you do a great job. Thank you so much for all you do, and I'm glad to see this exemption go through for you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. And Brian?
We got a lot of stuff. Jim talked about the Easter egg hunt. There is flyers up there that I posted. I don't know what happened to the rabbit that Jim put on there, but his ears are there, but the rest of them isn't. It is online. Please come support our Easter egg hunt. I think it will be a great event. Another thing I saw online that I posted on our town website or on our town Facebook page is Hope Alive 845. This is down in Cuddybeckville, obviously right down the mountain. Again, there's a flyer up there. Let's see, the league, Brian Latimer, I know you're here. Went to your breakfast yesterday, and all I'm gonna say is wow, what a turnout. I think it's great that people are out for Little League. Obviously, we're gonna be starting very soon after the parade here, but it was a great turnout, and I don't know that I've seen that many people there before, but it was good. How were the numbers this year compared to last year?
Increasing again,
Good.
through the roof,
Good. All day long it was busy.
all day long, no breaks.
I think a lot of places don't have pancake breakfast, and I like to think that helped, but you guys are a great group, and thank you. Last election, I wanted to talk about something that I brought Dennis Ketchum in here for. And since our deputy mayor happens to be here from the village, I just wanted to clear up something with her since she's here. It was not a smokescreen, Diane Loven, as far as me bringing in the tax assessor last time. And as a matter of fact, before I finish reading the rest, I'm gonna ask him to come in here. I was asked by someone of the tax increase in the town of Mount Hope, and I actually put something online that I'm gonna read here. But I do wanna bring him in here, just so he can kind of prove the point of what I asked. Someone asked when they looked at their tax bill why their tax levy was 5.9%. Am I right about this?
That's what you asked about.
5.9, yeah. So, I'll explain this. If anyone has a question, I guess they can talk to Dennis, I won't go bother. But I just wanna put in here, I know when people get involved in politics, they like saying taxes are raised through the roof, but as a 8-year member sitting on this board, I kinda went back and did my research the entire time I've been here, and this is kinda what I wanna read. I asked Dennis Ketchum to come in here last meeting, and actually explain what the tax levy was. After the meeting, I actually went home and kinda discussed with my wife, and I said, hey, how easy is it to pull up your tax bills online over the last X amount of years? And it's very easy. You can go to egov.bas.gov.com. So, in 2016, and again, I'm gonna tell you what my taxes were. Again, we differ a little bit, because I'm in the village, some people are in Howells, some people are obviously in the other parts of the town. But in 2016, when I got on this board, my taxes were for obviously the town, $644.15. They kinda went up a little, over the years, they went down in 2018 to $642.05. In 2020, I'll skip around here a little bit, they went down to $640.90. I've obviously sat on this board, I've sat in plenty of these meetings to reduce the taxes in the town of Mount Hope. In 2022, it actually dropped down to $590.63. Going farther, in 2023, there was an increase of $27.89. My taxes in 2016 were $644.15. My taxes in 2023 are $618.52. So for those of us that can add, this is the point that I brought it up. It wasn't a smoke show or whatever we have to do and go online and kind of complain how Brian Carey, what an embarrassment, what a tax increase. I can go on as far as it being a smokescreen. Dennis Ketchum was brought in here to explain to the people of Mount Hope and to the village of Otisville why their town taxes went down. So it was no smokescreen. I had people that actually came to me and asked me, and that's why I brought the assessor in to explain, not the town supervisor. I understand that obviously we're all up for election, and sometimes an outside person that's not elected to a position is a better person to explain. So if that doesn't explain it, Diane, you can be more than happy to go to egov.bas.gov.com, and there's 3 questions they ask you. Your tax bill number, your tax map number, and your property address, and you can see your taxes for yourself. So I am proud to sit here for this is my 8th year, my 8th term, and I'm sorry, my 8th year, I should say, not term. But I'm happy that taxes went down again. My bill is $618.52. So I think for those people that have a question about the difference between tax levy and the percentage, and I believe the supervisor made a comment at the last meeting that taxes went up 5-point-something%, but the percentage was less than that, I believe.
The question you asked from your inquiry is around 5.9% based on what was printed on a tax bill. So the town tax levy from 2022 to 2023, the fiscal year, increased by $97,108, which percentage-wise on those nears is 5.19%. So the difference in the almost 3/4%, like the assessor explained at the last meeting, is the difference between the levy on your tax bill and the levy from the town's budget is based on either the state or county tax departments factoring in of different formulations of tax certiorari's exemptions, anything that is outside the control of the town when we set the budget. That's why that number can increase or decrease, and he said within 0.1%, so approximately 7/10, just under 3/4. So that is those are the numbers. The budgets are available for everybody to view. If there's any question on it, if anyone has any questions,
Please come ask.
yeah, I'll be happy to answer them for you. I know Diane asked a question about the percentage. I didn't have it, so I figured that out between the last meeting and today, and 5.19% was the percentage of increase from 22 to 23. All the town employees received raises. 2 departments had increases in hours for employees. Obviously, anybody that has any bill they pay, they know it's increased due to inflation, whether it's your light bill or your grocery bill, $6 dozen of eggs. So I think with where we are, no change in services, would be, I would say, an increase based on hours of employees available to work for the residents. It's underneath, as we discussed, I know you asked Diane, the tax cap, kind of a confusing explanation. The state's 2% tax cap's not 2%, it's a formulation. We were underneath the tax cap by just over $4,000, their formulation, so compliant in terms of the comptroller's regulations for the budget.
I just want to end it with my thing, that's all I want to say. In 2022, my taxes were $590.63. In 2023, it was $618.28. My taxes went up $28.52. And for that $28.52, I think what we do here as a town, as far as stretching our money out as best as we can, I think we're doing a good job, clearly. My opinion, but thanks for asking. And if you have any questions, Diane, feel free in the future to come ask me instead of writing on Facebook about it. But we'll see how the election goes tomorrow, and we'll go from there.
All right, Amanda?
Just to echo, Chris done some work up at the Youth and Senior Center. I know we've had issues with people coming in for parties because we no longer have signs in the doors. I ordered some window sign holders so we can have private event posted. That's all.
Thank you. A couple items I'd just like to announce this evening. As of March 16th, which was last Thursday, through May the 14th, New York State DEC has a burn ban for no outdoor burning. You can find details on that online, New York State DEC. Was asked by Lucy Joyce from Cornell Cooperative Extension. They are applying for another grant. A funding opportunity, not specifically a grant, through Congressman Ryan. Congressman of Washington has a couple funding opportunities available. So I had wrote a letter of support for the Cornell Cooperative Project to see that hopefully that helps to increase their application for the funding availability and continue their growth and their build out of the site. Just wanted to let everyone know on that. And And also last week, I was notified from Orange County DPW, the engineering department, they have received all of the needed approvals for the Highland Avenue bridge replacement. They're hoping within the next 9-week window to have the bids and the contracts completed, executed, and then they can move on to a construction date. So, good news for everybody locally that that bridge project is finally getting a little bit closer to being taken care of. So this way, we don't have the detour, the weight restriction, we don't have to worry about whose logging truck's gonna fall through the bridge. I know that's a concern of some of the local residents, but, the county is moving that project forward, so we are set there. And we'll move on to the highway report from Dean.
This morning we had bid openings for our spring and fall cleanup. We had 2 bidders, Middletown Carding and Sunny Zito. My opinion is Middletown Carding is slightly better prices. They're $5 less on the poles and $4.25 less on the tonnage for the C&D. The metal dumpsters, Middletown Carding's got no fee to pull, offering market value for the metal. Sunny Zito wants $125 per pull, and is willing to pay $180, which I think is market value. Sunny Zito also bid on tires, but our current tire recycler out of Connecticut is better price. So my recommendation is we go with Middletown Carding for the metal and the C&D. June 5th through 7th, annual highway school in Ithaca. I need your approval to go to that. It's 3 nights in a hotel up there at a total cost of $775. And the addition out back, we'll wrap it tomorrow. I can talk to Matt and John about the window that faces, I guess it would be the planning office. Now seeing it framed out there, I think we need to put a higher window in. That's where we wash trucks all winter long.
Okay.
And I don't think it's gonna be ever clean enough to see out of. So, it's something we can talk about Wednesday.
Okay. Very good.
And we'll get it wrapped tomorrow. Do we have a roofer lined up yet, or no?
Not yet, we're working on getting the bids in. John and I discussed that on Saturday.
That's all I have.
All right. You have a
I
question?
just have a couple quick questions. One, Dean, the flag at the park, can we get a new flag put up?
We will.
I realize
The guys
we're
took
getting-
it down because it was tore, but before the April activities, when we open the bathrooms,
We'll do it.
we'll put the flag up.
Perfect. Next question. Boy Scouts are working on their projects, the 2 Eagle Scout projects this weekend, up at the
Okay.
youth center and senior center. Did we call 811, make sure we're good?
Yeah. we'll do
Okay,
it.
got it. I figured that. That's all I have. Thank you.
Other than that, we've started picking up the brush along mostly in Hidden Valley. We got probably 3 days of storm-related tree limbs and stuff to pick up out there around the whole town, but it's very heavy out there after that snowstorm. So, we'll be sweeping the roads also, probably later this week. Getting ready for spring.
All right, thank you, Dean. Police report from Mike, please.
That DWI contract, that's just the yearly, what we do every March. You just need a certified board resolution, and it's the town supervisor signing the contract for that. We called for the secretary list, and we're working on that to replace Marie. I sent out the canvas letters on Saturday, so we gotta wait about 10 days, so by March 31st, I can start going through them and arranging for interviews for that. And the only other thing is we have Ricky here, that I'm recommending for hire. I know Ricky for a couple of years now. I hired him over in my other spot in Maybrook. Felt very comfortable bringing him here. He does a great job for us in Maybrook. I felt comfortable bringing him to Maybrook because he used to work in the hospital in Garnet, and whenever I go there, I'd see him, and he was one of the good guards that we always ran into. So, if you have unless you have any questions, that's all I got.
Any questions for Mike? Thank you, Mike. And you wanted a village report from Brian. Anything to?
So Jim kind of touched on basically everything. Thanks, Jim. Load off my plate. It was the mayor's final meeting. That being said, tomorrow, it's been touched on again, get out and vote for everybody that lives in Otisville. We are having our public hearing on the 6th for the new proposed budget. And the only other thing is our contractor up at the firehouse has started and actually completed this evening, the closet for the ladies' room. Lance is still currently working on getting bids together for the arborist down at Veterans Memorial. Hopefully he'll have some answers for the next couple of weeks on where to go from there. And like I said, the Little League had a pretty good showing at the firehouse this past Sunday for their pancake breakfast. So, that's it.
Brian, just to relate to the Little League, thanks for continuing that tradition in our community.
It's my pleasure.
Yep.
My pleasure. Hate to see it lost.
65 years worth, correct?
So, yeah, when we get to that point, it's gonna be, yeah, I'll touch on that at the next segment.
Thank you, Brian.
That's all I got. Thank you.
All right, on to our new business. As stated, we have the Orange County Stop DWI agreement. Need authorization to accept and sign the agreement with Orange County.
Make the motion.
And a second, please.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Also got a new hire for part-time, non-competitive police officer to hire Ricky Maldonado with an effective date of March the 20th, 2023. Need a motion and a second to approve the hire.
Make the motion.
And a second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome aboard, Ricky.
Congratulations. Welcome aboard.
It's crazy out here, so be prepared.
I didn't tell him that part.
Now you're stuck.
A little more than a month ago, we received a intermunicipal agreement from Orange County regarding updates to the GML 239 process. David reviewed that along with Glenn with the planning and zoning boards. So we do need to adopt that agreement this way. It will reduce the number of, the reason the county's asking for the agreement is it will reduce the number of applications that's sent to Orange County unless it falls within a specific criteria. This way, it's something very simple. If you're a property owner and you want to do a simple 2-lot subdivision, turn your lot from 1 into 2, the county doesn't necessarily feel they have to be involved with that unless it meets one of their 6 or 7 criteria. Then they would be involved with this. This way they can dedicate more of their time and resources to the larger scale projects that need their attention and involvement at the county level. So based on the recommendation from attorneys and the planning and zoning, so that would be 3 signatures, planning chair, zoning chair, and myself to sign the agreement with Orange County to modify the GML 239 regulations. So we need a motion and second to adopt that and sign.
I'll make the motion.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Need an authorization to pay our bills for abstracts numbers 10 and 11.
Make the motion.
Yes. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. The last meeting, we worked, I know Chris, we worked on this a little bit between the last meetings, but employment contract with newly appointed Police Chief Maresca. We need authorization for that contract to be signed and put into effect.
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? All right. Then request from Highway Super to attend the annual highway training school in Ithaca June 5th through 7th, at a total cost of $775. That's tuition and room stay. Okay. The total cost is $775. We needed authorization to approve the training as stated.
We'll make the motion.
And a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
On to our old business, back to the library. We had sent a draft contract, the last meeting discussed the Pike County Library in Milford, Pennsylvania. They were open to a contract for library cards and library service for town residents. A draft contract, everybody was sent that by email. Also, the library has it, they have their meeting this evening. So hopefully tomorrow we get an approval from them to go into contract. I would recommend the Pike County contract for, first off, the services. Currently, if you're a resident that has a library card in Port Jervis, you have a restricted use because the Ramapo Catskill Library does not have the sharing agreement with Port Jervis. So you are only allowed to access materials that are strictly Port Jervis only. That's reduced online services. I know Libby is an online book reading or book borrowing function, which a lot of residents enjoy using, and they cannot now because that's a Ramapo item, not specific to Port Jervis, as well as some of the other online functions. When it comes to physical book borrowing, there's a reduced number available because it's the books that are only in Port Jervis, not within the network of libraries. By the town moving to contract with Pike County, Libby will be back as an option, online service. So all of the online services that Pike County offers would be available. All of the physical book borrowing services would be available. So there would be no restriction or no loss to what you would have been used to with the prior year's library service with Port Jervis through Ramapo. Secondary to that is, it's a significant cost savings. It's $35 per card with Pike County. Port Jervis is projecting, David, can I discuss the details of that contract from Port Jervis, even though we're not?
Yeah.
Okay. It would work out to $100 per card. It's a flat fee for the year based on last year's cards that were issued. Based on the lack of restrictions of services, I think we should make the change to Pike to keep the services at the level they were before. I know a lot of people are either very much with the online books or very much with the in-person books. And the people that do the in-person book borrowing don't have that outside network of Port Jervis, so they don't have the availability to get the books they were looking for. I had two people last week tell me they had books on order, they were canceled, they weren't notified. It's, well, come to find out, once they did a little digging and homework, the book wasn't in Port Jervis, so they can't have access to it. So I think, hopefully, we get a response tomorrow from Pike County that they'll approve the draft contract that we had sent to them. At this point, if the board does anybody have any comments or questions regarding the library?
No, I just think that Ramapo Catskill Library System is just trying to extort, and it's not just us, they're trying to extort the four towns in this community. And I think it's predatory practice, and I don't know why they're being allowed to do that. But that's the reason why we're going to a different library. And you know what? It is what it is.
When would it go into effect, Matt?
It would be, if we approve the contract tonight, David, then it would be whenever Pike County takes and approves the
Correct.
contract as well.
Yeah.
So if we approve it tonight, it would be once we get the notification from Pike. They do have online library card signups.
Yep.
So that is I would say probably a benefit. I know some people are concerned of the drive difference from Port Jervis to Milford. So that's something, they did not give us instruction in terms of how that card sign up would take effect.
Is it gonna be the same thing, one per family, or is it one per person?
Those details we haven't gotten from them yet.
And then how long is the Port Jervis contracts valid through December, March 31st.
Yeah.
The current one that we have with Port
Through tomorrow.
tomorrow, oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Correct. Tomorrow. The other thing, and I'm working with the supervisor, David Zubikowski in Greenville, we're trying to work with Pike County if they accept the contracts to do a book pickup. So right now, we're planning on once a month, having somebody pick the books up in Milford. They would be made available at the town halls during business hours if you wanted to, for a resident that didn't want to make the drive to Milford, they would be available in the town halls for pickup. But that's, some of those details, we still have to get worked out, pending the contracts are approved, and how that would be executed with the library itself. But that's something we're looking, if you would, an additional library service that wasn't available before. We're kind of hoping that would take effect with the new library.
When you say drop-offs to the town, you can order a book through the library and they bring it here? Is that what you mean by drop-off? Or they would have a certain amount of books with them?
So if you were a card holder, you would order, today's best-selling book, ABC. Somebody from the town would arrange for a pickup. So they would pick up Mr. Carey's books and Mr. Smith
Oh,
and
okay.
Mrs. Jean
Right,
Doe,
right.
and then you would retrieve them from the town hall. It would be, so when I spoke with David about this, one day per month, we would take the pickup, and then it would be accessible for the respective residents in their respective town halls. So, any other questions or comments with the library?
It's safe to say by your next meeting, you'll know more details about all of this?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, we don't have any details. It's been about 3.5 weeks. Been talking with the Pike County Library, and their meeting from that point, when we started the discussion of contracting with them, they haven't had a meeting until today. So that's why we don't have, they wanted the draft contract, which we provided to them. Then once that gets addressed on their end, then we can get into some of the finer details of, possibly the book pickup and things of that nature.
Cool.
Kathleen, how do they know it's town residents now? Do they have to fill the form out here?
They have to, yes, they come here, approve their residency, they leave here with a form with our town seal, or the library, and get the card. Renewals, if they've taken out a book within the past year, they can automatically renew. If it's been more than a year, then they come back and get the form back.
How would that work if it's online?
They didn't
Oh.
explain that. So, that's something hopefully in the next, few days, we have all that information.
Okay.
So,
What did the library card cost us for Port Jervis, for resident wanted?
Previous, last year was $75. Current year, based on the formulation they use, would be $100 per card.
And they're looking to do it, Pennsylvania's looking to do it for $35.
$35 per card, and the other main change would be the card is effective from the date it's issued. So if you take out a card on April 1st, that expires on April 1st of the following year, as to where Port Jervis was calendar year only. So if you bought a card in November, it was good for a month, and you paid full rate on it, so.
Interesting.
So we need an authorization to sign or approve the draft contract pending the approval from Pike County Library.
I'll make the motion.
And a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item is the MS4 Stormwater Reporting Plan. I need authorization for myself to sign the plan, and then that will be filed in, with New York State DEC. Just need a motion and a second to authorize the plan and the signature. All right, thank you, Amanda, and a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. The proposed local law number 1 made the decision to move the 2-year service, or the service requirement to 2 years. At this point, we need a motion to make effective the local law today, March the 20th, 2023, with the said change to 2 years of service.
I'll make the motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
also need to approve the contractor for the spring and fall trash bids for 2023, as recommended by the highway super. Middletown Carting for the metal and C&D dumpsters based on their submitted bid. Need a motion and a second.
Make that motion.
And a second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's everything, and we'll move on to public participation.
Just had a quick question, Jim, I missed it. The egg hunt, what time was that? Rain and shine?
2 PM, but rain, we have to work out a detail on the rain. We can't do them all at the same time, so.
2 PM.
2 PM, 2 PM, it's no rain. We'll have to put something out if it's raining, we'll put something out.
Okay.
That's because the staged, the age group tiers, he's saying, because there's three age groups. So if we're have to do it on the pavilion, we would
Oh,
have
it's
to
gonna be-
space out how
Gotcha.
it would start at 2 and then phase into each age group.
Okay, so starting at 2 and then proceeding, okay, gotcha.
Take a flyer out the
The hand plan. So with the Little League, back out again, see the faces, I do wanna say thank you to Brian, Chris, and Matt, you guys came, you guys saw the chaos, well, it's good chaos, it was great.
Tasty.
Yeah, it was good. I do wanna touch on the letter that we sent out, it actually involves the town of Mount Hope, and actually Howells, you guys are here, so we sent everybody that. You had mentioned it says 11, I just wanna quickly, kinda correct that. The ceremony itself, yes, is at 11 at the field, but we're gonna step off at 10, just like before. I don't think that's changed before, but I don't think the letter actually indicated that, so I just wanna.
Yeah,
It
I
did?
just underlined, right,
Okay,
at 11, and then I just didn't go further for the step up.
okay. I did also wanna thank Dean, he is working, a lot with Brian Cutler and Tam. You guys are all helping us with the donation of all the topsoil and stuff to kinda recreate one of the fields up there that has been nothing but mud and hard to play on for the past couple of years, so that's gonna hopefully happen this weekend. We have a lot of contractors coming up there to kinda help with all that, and I just wanted to thank Dean and you guys again for helping us with all that. And you mentioned about the flag, somebody mentioned that last time, and you're already on top of that, so thank you very much for that. And that's all we really have, numbers are continuing to grow. We just surpassed last year, so it has increased again. We're at 231, so hopefully it keeps growing every year since 2019. We've had more and more, so thank you for the support. Thank you, fire department, for being a part of it. And Mike, it's gonna be your first one, so you're here again. Thank you.
I did it last year.
I know, but now you're the head dog, so. Thank you.
Can I mention something? I'm here as a member of the Mount Hope Seniors Exercise Group. We ended up now having over 20 people that come to exercise. We have 14 chairs. So I'm hoping that, although you didn't even have a chair here, I could use now. I don't know if I should be asking for chairs or not, but we could certainly use 6 more chairs if that's at all possible. Otherwise, they're using folding chairs, which are too low and actually dangerous to be, trying to lean over.
The senior center.
Hey Patty,
Oh.
can I ask you a quick question?
Oh, Brian,
Does the cushion on the chair, is that important?
this is good. These are good. This is
Okay.
what Chad had offered me. And they've got the handle in the back, which is perfect, and it's a higher one, otherwise we would be, but yes, the cushion is good.
Okay, no.
Yeah, some of the exercises, they actually have to
out with us
balance on the chair to
That's what I
do,
said last time.
and the folding
Never mind, we
chairs
gotta
are
take care.
too low, and plus they slide.
Yeah, they can, yeah.
I said, I should take 2 out.
I think they still make them.
Thanks, someone. Any other public participation? Diane?
Following Patty, with the seniors, I think you know, I told you last meeting, we did have our first trip and that went very, very well. We don't have any trips planned for April, but we have 2 in May, so I'll let you know about those as it gets closer. But on April the 19th, the seniors have been invited to the high school to see the first showing of their musical play. This is something they did pre-COVID. They bring the seniors in early, they charge them a reduced rate, the National Honor Society makes a little luncheon, it's really a nice day. So that's a drive yourself thing, we don't have a bus going over to the school, but a lot of times they will carpool. So there may be a few cars over at the senior center that day, because that's where they've met to carpool to the school, so just so you know. This is kind of a village function, but I want to recognize Jim and thank him. Jim does a tremendous job as the liaison with the village, and at our last meeting, one of the things the village does, at least up to COVID we did, now we're getting back into it. Each year for Earth Day, which is April the 22nd, we provide activity books for the kids at the school. And the books are age appropriate, so we need a census of how many kids are in each of the grades. Lance Davern is our liaison with the school, and he has been having difficulty getting that census. So Jim, as our liaison, paid attention to what was going on at the meeting, and today I received that census from him, and we've passed it on to Lance, so thank you very much.
It's easy when you have your wife that works there.
Absolutely, absolutely, but, so we're all set to go now. And the only other thing I wanted to, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but to address Brian's comments. I don't think the board in total put your best foot forward at that meeting. Because if the intention indeed was to bring in Dennis to talk about what the tax levy increase means, he did a great job, and I said that night. But to leave it at that left myself and others, I was not the only person, I didn't start that conversation on Facebook.
I saw the 4 other people.
It sounded as if the implication was, but there was no tax increase, that was just the levy was increased. Once Brian responded on Facebook, and then today he put it all out here, had you followed Dennis's presentation, this is my personal opinion sitting in the audience, by saying, yes, taxes went up about 5%, but last year they went down more than that. And if you look at your tax bill over the last 8 years, it's actually less than it was 8 years ago. That would have been, that's what I mean by I don't think you put your best foot forward. Because many of us left here with the impression that you were trying to hide the fact that there was an increase when you really had something to brag about. So, just food for thought for the future. Thank you.
Any other public comment at this time? No? We'll move on to board comments. Start with Amanda.
No comments, just, did we touch on the Libby access card for the libraries?
No, through the public library, which we discussed on.
Right. So, New York State residents have access to Libby, which is an online app where you can read books and such. We had the access through Port Jervis. I don't believe it's an access to us anymore. I found out if you go on, I guess it would be newyorkpubliclibrary.org/library card, you can get free access as a New York State resident, and you can access Libby as well as other online reading functions. I just wanted to bring that to the residents' attention, because I know I've had several people that have asked me, and they utilize Libby more than they utilize the library itself. So I just wanted to make that known.
And there is no charge for what Amanda's talking
No,
about?
it is free to New York State residents, yes. Sorry, thank you, Diane.
Can you clarify then, because now I'm confused, because if that's free, what is the $100 and the $35?
So this isn't through Pike or RCLS.
This is the New York Public Library in the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
So,
Well, because you're a New York State resident, you can use that system.
And you have all the
You're paying a
Double
tax
tax.
for it
I
anyway,
gotcha.
so you're getting
Seems
it.
like better off. Free.
It's cheaper than $369,000 that Randall
Yeah.
Catskill wants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I was like, wait a minute, if it's free,
And Brian, the $100 came from, that's just what it cost the town per card. Anyone obviously is entitled to a library card,
Right.
but that's just what the cost was.
And that would be online only, there's no physical
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
paper book
Right.
availability.
Ah.
That's
Yes,
an
so
That's
online.
a
that's
living.
like I usually
Gotcha.
read my books on a tablet
That's-
or something.
every night, that's when my wife falls asleep with it in her hand.
Go home and tell her about it, you'll be a hero.
I should, actually. Save me a fortune.
Any other comments, Amanda? That's it. All right, Brian?
I have no comment.
All right, Jim? Or, yeah, Jim?
I have no comments.
Chris?
There's an election tomorrow. You know, I really hope people get out and vote in the village. I'm gonna say this, that Brian, you've done a lot for the town, and I think you're gonna do a great job if you're elected for the mayor, and I hope you have a successful day tomorrow.
Thanks.
And that's all I have.
The only thing I'd like to add, other than just to follow up on the detail, as we discussed with the tax levy increase, I didn't want to get into specifics, Diane, with numbers and percentages, because I didn't have them, so I didn't want to be making things up. So that's why I thought less was more, until I could get both of the budgets out and do the math and come up with the 5.19%, so.
Well, and I hope you understand what I'm saying, that would have made it sound like, wow, that's great.
And I hope people understand, we all have our email address, we all have our cell phone address. Every one of the members of this board are out at every community event just about that there is in town. We're open, so if you wanna ask us a question, we're more than welcome. We don't need to put it on Facebook and try to say that we were doing something different. And that's all I'm gonna say about it. Because I've been attacked the same way, so I understand.
We'll need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
You want us to carry these chairs out?
No, 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 we're good. You're good. Just